For pretty much the last 100 years, if you thought about cutting edge science, you thought about the United States. But that's changing, and it's changing fast. We're talking about a huge shift, a great reversal, where China could be about to take the lead in maybe the most important field there is, life sciences. I mean, listen to this quote. It just perfectly sums up this new reality. Professor Michael Kinch, who's been studying this, puts it like this. He sees it as a race between a classic Ford Mustang and a brand new Chinese supercar. Wow. So it's not just a race, right? It's about a total shift in the engine of innovation. You've got one side kind of relying on its classic, powerful history, while the other is just rolling out brand new next-gen tech. So to really get how big a deal this is, we've got to take a quick step back. For like a century, the US has been the ones setting the pace. They were the ones creating the standards for new tech, really paving the way for everyone else. This scientific leadership, it was a huge part of its identity on the world stage. And this timeline, it really tells the story. You can see how this leadership started to chip away. It was kind of slow at first, starting about 20 years ago in fields like engineering. But now, the challenge in medicine and biopharma, that's happening at like lightning speed. It's threatening to flip the whole old order on its head. So, the big question is, how did this happen? Well, it wasn't an accident. Not at all. China's rise in science is the result of a really deliberate, super carefully planned, long-term strategy. Let's dig into how they pulled it off. And this quote from Harvard professor William Kirby, man, it's a stark one. He says they've won. Just flat out. He's talking about those core areas, like engineering, where Chinese universities are now so far ahead in the rankings that he thinks the US might not ever be able to catch up. And that success, that became the playbook for what they wanted to do next. Okay, so check this out. China's 14th five-year plan, this wasn't just some vague mission statement. Think of it more like a laser-guided missile. And it was aimed directly at biopharma, precision medicine, and advanced medical equipment. And they didn't just throw money at the problem. No, they actually changed government policies to speed up the entire process for getting new drugs approved. And the results of those changes? Pretty staggering. Clinical trials in China suddenly became 30% cheaper. And get this, they were 20 to 40% shorter. In the world of drug development, where a single year of delay can cost billions of dollars, and more importantly, can cost lives, that is an absolute game changer. So all this new efficiency led to some dramatic real-world results that honestly seem to catch a lot of industry leaders completely off guard. It really feels like we've already passed the tipping point. Just think about this number for a second. China has increased the number of new drugs it has in development 8-fold. 8 times! That isn't just growth, that's an explosion of innovation. It's a crystal clear sign that their system is firing on all cylinders. And here's where it really hits home, especially for the US market. A full 1/3 of all the new drugs that major American pharmaceutical companies are licensing now come from China. The pipeline for new medicine in America is more and more starting in a Chinese lab. So what's the bottom line here? Well, a recent analysis came to a really sobering conclusion. China has now officially reached parity with the United States in drug development. Let that sink in. They're not just catching up anymore. They're not closing the gap. They're on equal footing. Parity. Now, you'd think a challenge this big would set off all sorts of alarm bells in the US, right? You'd expect some kind of massive, coordinated response. A Sputnik moment, but for biology. Yeah, that's not what's been happening. Instead of a bang, the response has been described as more of a whimper. In fact, our sources point out a seeming lack of urgency from key institutions. The U.S. National Institutes of Health, for example, didn't even respond to a request for comment on this whole situation. And some insiders, they're not pointing the finger at Beijing. They're pointing it right back at Washington. Venture capitalist Robert Nelson puts it so bluntly. He says, I don't blame China for being competitive. I blame the U.S. for not stepping up and competing. Basically, the issue isn't that China is playing hard, it's that the U.S. isn't. And then you have Noubar Afeyan. He's the CEO of the company behind Moderna, and he's warning about what he sees as a really short-sighted strategy. His argument is that the U.S. is way too focused on bringing back manufacturing jobs, which is fine, but in the process, it's letting the really valuable innovation jobs slip away. He calls it insourcing manufacturing and outsourcing innovation. Okay, so given this new reality, what happens next? What's the path forward? Is this just a zero-sum game where one side wins and the other loses? Or is there maybe another way to look at this whole shift?
It's really important to remember something here. At the end of the day, scientific knowledge is a public good, right? I mean, if you or someone you love needs a life-saving drug, you don't really care where it was invented. You just care that it works. A cure for a disease helps all of us, no matter which country it comes from.
So the experts in our sources suggest a three-part strategy for the U.S. going forward. Number one, keep the funding going for that really fundamental basic science. Number two, keep welcoming the best and brightest minds from all around the world. And number three, instead of just fighting, maybe engage in some smart, selective cooperation with China where it actually makes sense. And all of this brings us right back to that great reversal. For decades, the model has been pretty clear. The phone or computer you're watching this on, probably born from American science, but built with Chinese manufacturing. But if this trend keeps going, the next life-saving medicine you pick up from the pharmacy, it could be the total opposite, the product of Chinese science and American manufacturing.
And so that leaves us with a really critical question. Because this isn't just about economics or national pride. This is about who's going to hold the keys to the future of our health. Who will be the one to invent the cures of tomorrow? A few years ago, the answer seemed obvious. Today, it's not so clear anymore.